This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Matt, have you ever heard the term wholesalers before?
Wholesalers, like Costco?
Like Costco, Sam's Club? Yeah,
Right.
those guys. No. In terms of real estate.
No.
No?
Explain what that is.
So basically, what a wholesaler does, like, let me put it this way. Have you ever heard those commercials for, hey, go to a weekend seminar, we'll teach you how to invest in real estate
Sure.
with little to no money
Right.
down? Okay, that's essentially wholesaling. And what they're doing is, let's say the house is in a state of disrepair. It will not qualify for traditional financing.
Okay.
Okay, so you can't get a loan on the property. So let's say, but once the house is fixed up, it's worth $200,000. Well, what a wholesaler will do is they will go to that homeowner and say, hey, I'll pay you $90,000 cash for the house, and we'll close quickly, 10, 12 days, and you don't have to fix anything, you don't have to pay any fees,
Right.
no closing costs, no nothing. And sometimes the homeowner, in certain situations, that makes good sense
Sure.
for them. And but then what that wholesaler does, that oftentimes, and this is like some states don't even allow wholesaling. But
Why not?
because of what happens next. So
Okay.
far, everything's kind of making sense.
Sure.
But what happens next is that wholesaler has a contract for $90,000. What they will then do is they will sell that contract to an investor, somebody that's actually going to go in, fix the property,
Right.
swing the hammer, that type of a thing. They will sell it to that investor. And how that works is they'll say, hey, I have this contract for $90,000. The investor says, great, I'd be willing to pay up to $100,000 for that property. So now that wholesaler then has a second contract drafted where he's now selling that property to the investor.
Right.
And so he's making the $10,000 and the homeowner is making the $90,000.
Right.
And so why some states don't allow this is it's a little bit more involved than a typical real estate transaction. There's less disclosures. So it's more complicated,
Sure, absolutely.
less informed. And the belief is that many of those homeowners, if they knew there was somebody willing to pay $100,000 for their house, they would want that offer instead of the one for $90,000.
Right. Well, it would be up to that investor to get ahead of the game then and get to those homeowners before the wholesaler does then, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly what
Don't they try to do that?
So yeah, the investors are, but if the wholesaler got there first,
Yeah.
then that's where the argument is the homeowner is the one losing in that situation because they could have technically gotten $10,000 more, using this example, $10,000 more for their house.
Right.
But the wholesaler doesn't have a fiduciary
Well, they could have got even
responsibility.
more though if they did all the repairs and they just decided to work with a real estate team and put their house on the market the traditional way, right?
Yep.
So there's lots of options. Yeah, you can make more money doing it this way. I mean, the wholesaler is the fastest, simplest way to do it, right?
Well, here's a situation that happened recently, right? It wasn't Valor and I. This isn't our story. This is somebody we know.
Yeah.
And what happened was the house was coming on the market. There's tons of crap everywhere. It's not even on the market yet. And they said, well, hey, they just let a bunch of real estate agents know, hey, if you know anybody who would be willing to take on the house before all of the junk is removed. It was a rental property, and it was trash, and it took forever to get the tenants out. If you know anybody that's interested, send them by, and we can submit a cash offer as is, or they're just going to fix up the property, and
Right.
the price will go up over time. So what this agent did is they reached out to their pool of investors. One of the investors was interested.
Right.
One of the investors said, yes, I'm willing to pay, again, we'll just use that $90,000 example. I'm willing to pay $90,000 for the home. And the homeowner was like, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. We've had offers at $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. $90,000 is the best one. Cash will be in the bank money will be in the bank in 12 days. Well, unfortunately, that wholesaler went out to their network of investors, and some random investor just drove by the property, was on the property without permission, somehow encountered the homeowners, the landlords, and we're saying, yeah, we're the ones buying the property. We're paying X amount of dollars for the property, which is more than the contracted price. And so now the homeowners are all upset because they feel like they've been taken advantage of, even though they were happy 24 hours prior.
Well, they were misled, though. That person who came onto their property the second time, though, was misrepresenting themselves, right?
No, they're the ones that are taking. They're the ones that the contract is being assigned to. They're the end user, and so they're paying $100,000, but the homeowner's only getting 90. And it's just here's my take on it is as long as they were happy with the 90, if that was the best offer. Sometimes people are wholesalers, and sometimes people are both. They will wholesale it, or they will take it from construction to completion. Okay, and sometimes it changes mid-process. Like they think the numbers change.
Yeah.
They get in there and like, oh, this makes more sense to go this other route. There's nothing necessarily unethical about that, but it just feels bad when you think you're getting taken advantage of. And for most homeowners, that's how that feels to them.
Right.
There's even a thing called the double close. So you can actually hide it from the homeowners, so this doesn't even come up. And that's where they close on the property with that $90,000 purchase price in the morning, and then they close on it with a $100,000 purchase price in the afternoon. And it's
so for people that are listening that are considering selling their home and they do want a simple process, they don't want to do the repairs, right? They don't have the money to do that.
Yeah.
They don't have the time. Maybe it just sounds too complicated and overwhelming, and they see some of these opportunities. Hey, we will pay you cash for your home, sight unseen, right? They don't even look at the home. Are you advising them to be careful out there? And
definitely be careful. So first of all, if somebody's telling you
this is not a good idea.
No, well, generally speaking, no. Generally speaking, no. So let's say if somebody's going to tell you they're going to pay so much money sight unseen, I'm saying that's horsepucky. That is not true. That is fake. You wouldn't buy a car sight unseen, let alone a house, because there's so many complexities and systems within a house that could impact the home's value. Another story, a person I met, she had an investment property. It was in Roseville. The house was built like 2017. And I get a call, and she's like, hey, come out. I'd like to get a cash offer on my home. And I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't make any sense. This home is new. It's in a new development.
Right.
Why would you want to cash out? Like, what happened that makes this house not worth going on the market and going the traditional route? But so I go, and turns out, again, tenants were living in the property. A pipe burst.
Yeah,
and it's a 2-story home, and it flooded the whole bottom. And so, I think it was ServPro had been out there, and they totally gutted everything. All you could see were studs throughout the house. It was almost like the house was
throughout the entire house, first and second floor.
So all of the first floor and parts of the second floor. It was
wow.
It was pretty, and there was no flooring on the second floor. It was pretty interesting.
Wow.
And because on the
pipe burst and flooded the house.
Yeah. And so from the outside, it looks like a normal home. I'm walking up to him, I'm like, why does this person want a cash offer? And and then as soon as I open the door, I'm like, oh, this makes sense.
Right.
And, but I walked her through the numbers, and so that house was probably all fixed up. They call it the ARV, after repair value. All fixed up, that house is probably worth $540.
Right.
Okay. So I asked her, well, how much were you wanting? Like, what was the cash offer you were looking for? And she told me $500.
Right.
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. You just told me that you had a contractor out here, and he quoted $70,000 to make the repairs. Like, the numbers don't align. And so I reached out to one investor. He was not interested. I reached out to a second investor. He came back, and I told her, and I walked her through the numbers. And if you have any questions about what investor offers look like, just go to madeformorerealty.com, reach out to us. We can walk you through this process.
So just to clarify, she was looking for $500,000, no repairs, just take the home off my shoulders, and the contractor were estimating somewhere around $70,000 to fix it up.
Correct.
And you figured the market value would be around $540 for this property?
Oh yeah, all day long, $540.
Okay. Easily $540, maybe even more?
No, maybe $545, but we're not talking like a whole lot of.
Okay.
Like, it's just very obviously $540.
So her knowing that, then obviously if she decided to do all the repairs, she would lose money on the deal then.
So the issue with her was she didn't want to deal with the repair. She didn't want to do any of that. She just wanted it necessarily off her hands. And so I walked her through it. And what the offer, like again, I just back of the napkin math. I could walk through this with everybody specific because one house may need 70,000, one house may need 15,000.
Right.
You know, it just depends. And so I will walk through and I will show you every single step. And so it's where we start at is what is the house worth fixed up?
Right.
Okay. Then yes, they say that and they being the investors say that you're not going to have to pay any realtor fees or closing costs because they're paying it. So they have to work that in their number. So there's the closing costs when they buy the house from you. Mm-hmm. Then there's the closing costs when they sell it on the open market, right? So there's two sets of closing costs that they have to work into their budget.
Yeah.
So there's the ARV, there's the two sets of closing costs, there's the repair budget, and you always have to, even if it's like looks black and white, you always have to build in a little bit of a buffer just for the unknowns. And then at that point, the investors made no money, like $0. They've spent, in many instances, tens of thousands, if not six figures.
Yeah.
Risked six figures on this property, and they haven't made a dime yet. And so investors, how it was explained to me, is they'll typically want to make somewhere around 15, maybe 20% on the sale of the home for their for the risk that they've undergone. If not, they could just put money into the stock market and it would get them 10%.
Right.
Okay, on average. So when you build that in, she wanted 500. The house was worth like I told her, you're probably going to get an offer somewhere around 378 to 399.
Oh, without the repairs.
With as is, walk away, cash in your bank in 12 days or less. And so first investor said no. Second investor said, let me look.
The first investor said no to the 500,000.
First investor said no to the project. He was like, I'm too busy. This
Gotcha.
is too much work for what I have going on right now. I have so many remodels going on already.
Right.
If this was a lighter project, I'd be interested. So the first investor said no. Second investor said, I'm interested. Let me go out there and see the property. His numbers came back. He came back at 380. Remember, I told her 378 to like 395. Okay. So the numbers that we work with are pretty accurate when we're quoting you on what
they are living in the house at the time.
No, this was an investment property.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, but anyways, she's like, well, absolutely not. I'm not going to take less than 450. Totally fine. You know, it's your house, your rules, but there's no investor that's going to pay 450 because they haven't even made a dime at that point. They're basically fixing up your house for free.
Right.
They're taking on your problem for free. That's not what investors do. They're a business, just like a mechanic or a dentist or a doctor. They're here to earn a living. And anyways, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
So what ended up happening? She just decided to say no, and
so I'm still looking for another investor that may be able to come up a little bit.
Yeah.
So what typically happens?
That's tough. I mean, you can shop around for different contractors, but what you said is most likely it's around $70,000 to get the home in a condition where someone could move in and live in it.
And what was unique about this situation was she had a quote from the insurance company. Like it wasn't like she's having to trust my quote for $70,000. She had a quote and she still doesn't understand, isn't willing to come to terms with what the numbers are telling her.
Yeah.
So I work with I think some of the best investors in the area, like in terms of when I say best, meaning they get the job done, they don't renegotiate on you, they don't tell you, hey, I'll pay you $450 for the home because that's what you told me you wanted, and then I'm going to change it down. I'm actually going to pay you, $380. So they don't do that. But the numbers they say are the numbers that they're willing to pay, and they're willing to pay more because they're typically doing more volume. They have deeper pockets. It's their money. They're not using hard money from a third party. And so I might be able to get her a little bit more for the property if I find the right investor, but at the end of the day, there's no way she's getting $450. The numbers don't pencil. And it was just interesting to hear, have a wholesaler come in and do this earlier on a different property, and then hear me experience it with an investor on another property, all within the matter of like 3 days.
Yeah.
So we're very familiar with this process. We have lots of investors, and so if you're looking for a cash offer, we can help you. But typically, if your house can qualify for financing, it makes more sense for you to go the traditional route. And by making more sense, I mean, you'll make more money.
Yeah, because sometimes, it sounds like this will be easier and simpler, but that's not always the case.
You're paying for speed. You're paying for simplicity. If you If you want to sit in the front of the plane because you can get on early, you have concierge service, you can get off faster. You're paying for the speed.
Yeah.
If you want a fast pass at Disneyland, I don't even know if they call that because I don't go to Disneyland.
Right.
But if you want to cut the lines at Disneyland, you're paying for that speed. Same thing with a house. You're paying for the convenience. And but if the bottom dollar, and here's the thing, is that homes on average are selling in less than 30 days. So 12 days versus 30 days, is it worth thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars for you to wait an extra week or two?
Yeah.
Most people, they would say yes. So anyways,
hire the contractor to come do the work.
Hire the contractor or list traditionally. Like again, if the home qualifies, most homes qualify for traditional.
But you can
financing.
list it traditionally with as much work that it needed.
You can do that too.
Really?
Yeah. So it would just go on the MLS, and you would just go on the MLS, and it would get blown up by all these different contractors and people who scour the MLS every single day looking for handyman specials, fix-it opportunities.
Yeah.
Which is actually something I'd like to cover once we get back, is about how a lot of people think just listing the home and putting it on the internet is all that it takes to sell a house. But what they don't realize is what we're going to cover when we get back.
Fear, worry, anxiety, why go through all of that in selling your home? There's a much easier way. It's peaceful, it's joyful, it's exciting. That's what happens when you work with the best in our area, Johnny Jennings and his team at Made for More Realty. And check this out, you can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. Just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.